What do you think is the biggest mistake or myth that women fall victim to when it comes to starting out a resistance training program?
Because there are biggest myths and there are biggest mistakes. So
Okay.
I'll address the myth.
Sure.
They think that resistance training is going to make them bulky, manly and bulky. I think that's one of the biggest fears. The biggest mistake that women make is they're focused too much on fat loss.
How do you get somebody to go from wanting to starting, but then more importantly, sticking to it?
You have to be able to sustain something and make it part of your lifestyle for you to be able to make it a habit, for you to be consistent enough with it.
Welcome to Youthful Aging Secrets. I'm your host, RICARDO VASQUEZ. Today's guest is Won Dolegowski, a fitness and nutrition coach who proves age is just a number. She's over 50 and looks incredible, a former pharmacist, a bikini bodybuilding champion, and after major back surgery, she rebuilt her strength, transformed her health, and now helps women do the same. In this episode, you'll discover how to train smarter, even with injuries or health challenges, the biggest myth keeping women from building the body they want, why strength training is your secret weapon for aging well, simple, sustainable habits that can change your health for decades, and much more. Before we jump in, I want to invite you to join my free weekly newsletter, Live Better Longer. Every issue answers one important health question using the latest research, plus my favorite finds of the week, and a chance to ask questions to upcoming guests. It's short, actionable, and designed to help you live as healthy as possible for as long as possible. You can join free at youthfulagingsecrets.com/subscribe. And finally, please like and subscribe, as it's the best way to help us grow this channel and spread the word. I appreciate you.
Okay, Juan, thank you so much for joining me on Youthful Aging Secrets podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we were just talking about you're someone who likes to sleep in a lot, and just kidding. So what you said, 4 a.m., right?
Yes, I set my alarm for 4. Well, technically 4:04. I know that sounds very strange to have 4:04, but I don't know. I just said it there because it seems a little bit later than 4 o'clock. Because I know it takes me a while to kind of wake up and get moving. So I like to set it a little bit earlier.
Right. Do you follow or are you familiar with Jocko Willink?
I know who he is.
He's the
I don't follow him though. I know who he is. The Extreme Ownership.
Yeah, great book.
Yes, I read it. Yes.
Did you like it?
Yes, I did. And I think I did. I know that when I did see his post, he would take a picture of his watch, right?
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Okay. So I am familiar with that, but I don't follow him. So I guess he's an early riser as well.
Yeah, I mean, former Navy SEAL is quite common in the military, right? Most of them, I have, people I know that they kind of kept that habit of rising early.
Yeah.
But yeah, he takes a picture of his watch every single morning, posts it. It's like 4:30 a.m. On April 1st, he's like, "Oh, went back to bed. I don't feel like it." And everybody was like, "Wow." It was obviously April Fool's Day.
Oh, joke. Yeah. Yeah.
So 4 a.m., that's awesome. I typically, nowadays I'm 6 a.m. Just curious, what time do you go to bed usually?
I aim to go to bed at 9.
9. Okay. So you're still getting a good amount of sleep.
Yes, it's important. It's very important to me. I used to be one of those people that sacrificed for sleep a lot. And there was a period I would get only 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And I realized that was a huge factor in just my overall health, wellness. And that was one of the first things I had to fix in order for me to get healthier. So I really try to preach the importance of prioritizing sleep.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. And I think I think there's a subset of the population who can go with very low amounts of sleep. They have some kind of a gene. It's incredibly rare, but apparently there is a set of the population that can do like 4 hours, 5 hours sleep, even less, and they're still healthy. But I'm not one of those people.
No.
I feel like crap if I don't get at least 6 hours, and even that's not optimal. So I try to get
No.
for me the sweet spot is like 7 hours.
Yeah.
Even if I don't have alarms or anything, I always wake up around 7, 7:30. I
Yes.
never
Me
go
too.
like 9, 10.
Me neither. I'm the same way. I hear people who say, "Oh, I got 9 to 10 hours of sleep." I can't even do that, even if I tried. Like my body just naturally wakes up around the 7, 7.5 hour mark as well.
Yeah, I have people, my family and friends that can sleep 12 hours if they do
Oh my
not have an alarm.
gosh,
Yeah.
I can't
I have
even
it. One
imagine.
one of my best friends is like that. He's in great shape and everything, but if he says I'm gonna go to sleep, he'll sleep like 14 hours. It's insane.
Wow. I mean,
He knows who
good,
it is. I'm
good
not
for
gonna say his
him. I
name.
mean, if he has, he can get the things that he needs to get done. I'm just thinking about like, that's like what, 6 hours of stuff that my day is already gone, that he's
Yeah,
still sleeping.
can't do it. Yeah. So, Juan, tell me a little bit about yourself. Maybe we could start from the beginning, your background, all the way to perhaps childhood, or how you kind of got into this, world of fitness and training people over 50. And I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. Well, I was born in Korea. I'll just start from the very beginning. I came to America when I was one. Grew up in Michigan, and brought up the typical Asian culture. I remember I was actually someone just asked me that. Someone said, if you weren't going to be a pharmacist, what would you be? And I actually said I would have gone into fitness, because honestly, that was where my heart was when I first went to college. I was very interested in kinesiology and fitness and things like that. But I had the pressure of my parents, and that too, I don't want them to feel bad. It's just your typical, cultural thing, expectation to go into a medical field. So I had the pressure of trying to, you know, make them proud. And so I left fitness. I actually did take some courses, and I decided I was not going to do that. I ended up going to occupational therapy, which is not even pharmacy. Um, Went into occupational therapy, did that for a few years, and then I had to have back surgery because I have scoliosis. So I actually had to have, a pretty big back surgery to correct my curvature, and I have rods and screws all down my spine. So I have my T4 to L4 are fused. So like 13 vertebrae, I think that's 13 vertebrae are fused. And during that recovery time, I kind of rethought about my career. I did not want to go back into occupational therapy because where I worked in rehab. So there was a lot of heavy lifting, working with patients who had strokes, traumatic brain injuries. I knew physically I could not handle that. And I also did not want to work in other areas that occupational therapists typically work in, which we could be like pediatrics or specializing in hand therapy. At that time, I just did not, I didn't have an interest in working with children. And with hand therapy, is very intimate. You are literally face to face with your patient. And I just wasn't interested in that. I wasn't interested in just working with only hands. So I decided to take a different career path. And at that time, I decided to go into pharmacy because my brothers were pharmacists at that time. And they said, you know what, you have so many of the courses, you should go into pharmacy. It's not physically demanding. They have great hours. And so that's what I did. I went back to school to become a pharmacist. And then I did that for a while, for many, many years, until there was a time in my life I felt significant dissatisfaction with my job. And almost like I felt like I was dying a slow death. For me, it wasn't enough to collect a paycheck. For me, having a sense of purpose is very, very important. And during that time, I was very interested in fitness for my own life. I was doing a lot of endurance sports, marathons, triathlons, things like that, and just kind of, stayed active. And in my 40s, I had noticed a change in my own body composition, typical of what a lot of women in perimenopause go through in their 40s. Like they all of a sudden look at their bodies and think, what is happening here? And I knew that what I was doing wasn't working. And at that time, I was still doing excessive amounts of cardio, not prioritizing strength training, still afraid to eat carbs. I had a lot of food rules. And I, set aside my ego, and I realized I need help, and that was a big step because I considered myself, an educated, intelligent woman. And I thought, like, why can't I figure this out myself? But I'm not an expert in nutrition, so I had to reach out for help. And that was the probably the beginning of where I am now. My decision to hire a coach was so transformative. My experience with this coach changed the trajectory of my life, and it actually inspired me to become a coach myself, because I thought, wow, if she had the power to change me the way she had, and how it just changed me as a person, transformed me just mentally more than anything. I wanted to have that ability to change other women's lives as well, because it was just so powerful. And so that's how I got into fitness, coaching other women through my own experience of being coached. And my specialty is working with women who are, in perimenopause, primarily like late 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. And so that's pretty much where it's at, like in a nutshell, how I got here.
So with the scoliosis, that's the curvature of the spine, and is that like a genetic thing, or did something?
Yes, and most of it is idiopathic, meaning you don't know the cause. Of course, there's if someone in your family has it, you have a greater chance of getting it. But our family, we didn't know anyone who had it. Like, I was literally the only person in the entire family that's ever had it that we know of. So, I just pray that no one else got it. I pray that, my daughter doesn't get it. It's just, that has had a significant impact on my life, significant. But it hasn't stopped me from doing the things that I know that I need to be doing. I didn't use it as a crutch or as an excuse to not do the things that I knew that I had to be doing. I had to learn to work around my limitations and always practice gratitude, because, I'm still able to move my body in ways that so many people can't and wish that they could. I have, physical deformation and physical limitations. I can't do certain exercises, but I can still do a lot. So it's really helped me appreciate my body and just appreciate my health even more. So I consider it a blessing in disguise. Of course, I wish I didn't have it. Who wants to have pain? Because I still deal with chronic pain, a lot of chronic pain, and I've just gotten used to it. So again, it just helps me have a positive attitude and appreciation for my health.
Right. Do you take painkillers or for the pain?
No.
Never.
There was a period of time initially when I was trying to manage it, right, where doctors wanted to throw pain medication at me. And they prescribed me everything you could possibly imagine. And the thing with me and like narcotics, like hydrocodone, when I take that medication, it makes me sick, very sick, nauseous, very dizzy. And I recall the doctor giving me Marinol, which is basically a legalized form of marijuana, to help deal with the nausea. So it was this kind of weird, like they were prescribing a medication to help deal with the side effect of a medication. And I said, no, I didn't even feel it. I'm just not, I don't like relying on medication. And also it didn't help. None of it helped. I would try it and it didn't help matters at all. And it made me feel worse. So I've learned to manage the pain without medication, just a healthy lifestyle. And I think staying active has definitely helped tremendously. In fact, I did see a spinal specialist last year because my pain had gotten so bad. I was convinced that the hardware in my back, the rods and screws were loose because I was in so much pain. So I had to get all these imaging tests done, X-rays, MRIs, CT scans, and they confirmed like all the hardware is in place. Everything looks good. And that's the confirmation I needed. I just needed to know that there was nothing wrong structurally. And I just wanted the doctor to tell me, listen, there really is nothing that we can do. Like surgery is not an option. They did suggest like a steroid injection. I turned that down, honestly, because they said it was going to be temporary relief. And I did not want to do something that I would have to continue doing forever and ever. And then there are risks associated with that as well. So it just kind of gave me peace of mind. Like the fact that they said there was nothing wrong actually gave me peace of mind, knowing that I am doing everything I can possibly do. And I remember the surgeon, the specialist, saying, the fact that you are in good health that you are a healthy body weight, that you are active, that has actually helped your situation. Like that, you are in the best situation possible, even though it may not be great. Because what they told me is one of the first recommendations they tell people who have back issues is they recommend that they lose weight. That is their number one recommendation is to lose weight, because carrying the excess body fat actually puts a lot of stress on your back. So they said, obviously you are not overweight. You're doing everything great. Continue doing what you're doing. So I think staying active has definitely helped me.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
More than helped you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be interested to see studies on people with scoliosis on long-term effects of resistance training and that. I'm sure there's studies out there. I'd be very interested in knowing about it.
Yeah, what's interesting is, I've had several people reach out to me, telling me that they have scoliosis, or they have back issues, or they have, well, scoliosis specifically, and a lot of them have discouraged their patients from resistance training, which I find interesting, because I'm like, I would think that resistance training would strengthen everything. So I think there's still some disconnect out there. I'm not sure where that is, but yeah, that would be interesting to see if there were other people who have scoliosis and what kind of lifestyle that they live, and how they feel now.
Yeah, well, the data is pretty clear that resistance training, it helps with pretty much almost every health
Everything.
biomarker,
Yeah.
and with health span and longevity, and to not focus on strengthening your connective tissues and muscles and that. How could that not be part of your regimen if you have anything really?
I don't know either.
That's just my opinion, but
No, that's my opinion too. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. There's so many benefits to this. I can't imagine not doing it. Yeah.
yeah, and obviously you have to be intelligent. Listen to your body as well.
Right.
You don't want to push through excruciating pain. You've got to,
Right.
But anyhow, so you were a pharmacist as well, which is interesting because you mentioned you didn't want to go down the path of pharmacology, as far as like the painkillers and that. And as a pharmacist, I kind of like the job to prescribe well, not prescribe, but to issue the medications and that. And I'm sure some of them can be life changing in a good way. What made you come to that conclusion, especially with your history as a pharmacist?
Well, I became a pharmacist. Yeah. Oh, as far as like my viewpoint on medication and things like that.
Yeah, specifically the painkillers, I guess, and just over in general, why not include some form of medication, or if there is any anti-inflammatory things like that? Just curious how you
Yeah,
come
I
to
don't
that.
know. I guess I was able to separate the pharmacist side to me personally, like how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
And, I just understanding how it didn't help me. If it didn't help me and made me feel worse, then I didn't see any benefit in taking it. I think of course, medications are life saving for a lot of people. I mean, people are able to manage their medical conditions because of medication. I also think that some of it is prescribed, overprescribed, and incorrectly prescribed. I think there are a lot of doctors who feel kind of trapped as well, because I know that many of them do recommend that their clients or their patients adopt a healthier lifestyle to help get off, let's say, blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, diabetic medication. But a lot of patients, they don't want to change their lifestyle. So I know that doctors' hands are tied as well. So yeah, I feel like a lot of things can be improved by a healthier lifestyle, and of course, other things you can't. There's some genetics that come into play as well, and we do need medication. So I think when they're prescribed properly, it's beneficial.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that sentiment, especially overprescribed, overused, and most people, I don't know if it's most people, but a lot of people don't want to do the hard work. They just want the immediate
The
result,
pill.
and that's where the pill works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Painkillers work, but
Yeah.
unfortunately they come with their side effects.
Yes.
So as a pharmacist, that transitioned into, I guess, the coaching industry, what would you say are some takeaways you got from the pharmacy side of things that you still use today, whether they were the good parts of that industry or the bad. What are some takeaways you had from that in your experience?
Well, actually, is it funny? I mean, I actually still do some contract work as a pharmacist, once or twice a week, or maybe once or twice a month. And actually, it helped me because I actually did not work in retail pharmacy. So when people think of pharmacy, they automatically think of places like CVS, Walgreens, those big chain pharmacies where they're standing behind the counter, counting pills, things like that. I actually worked in a compounding pharmacy. I managed a compounding pharmacy, so we compounded injectable pellets, hormone, things like that, hormonal injection medications. And so it was a different different area of pharmacy. And I was in management. So I was working in production where I was doing the prescription reviews, but I transitioned to management. So I did a lot of regulatory compliance things. So that actually helped me when I got out of pharmacy and purchased a brick and mortar business where I did DEXA scans, resting metabolic rate tests, and VO2 max tests. So that actually did help me because it helped me feel confident that I could operate this business on my own, because as a pharmacy manager, I had a lot of responsibilities kind of like that, making sure that we were in compliance. So that gave me the confidence to transition away and help me understand that, give me the confidence that I can do this. I can do this, and, because when I was a pharmacist, I had a pressure of carrying the burden of the licenses of the entire pharmacy so that we could ship medications throughout the entire country. So there's a lot of, I would say, burden that comes with that pressure. So I was able to carry that knowledge and experience to opening my own business. And, and then just understanding, you have to have a relationship with the patient. So my relationship with my clients is a give and take. And you can only do so much as a coach. You can guide them. You're not saying you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So same thing, as a pharmacist, you can give them the medication, but you can't force the patient to be compliant and take it. You can only do your best to educate and guide them. And same thing as a coach, you want to give them the support system, the skills, the encouragement, but you can't do the work for them. So that was the hardest part for me, I think, as a coach, is wanting it more than the client. I wanting it so bad and just feeling like sometimes helpless. Like, I just know that if you implement the things I'm asking you to implement, you're going to see results. But you can't force people to change their habits. It has to come internally. So that's the hardest part as a coach.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I didn't know you had that business. You still have it now?
No, I sold that in 2021.
That's
when
so cool.
when I decided to do coaching full time, like as my full time thing, because up until then I was managing a business and coaching, kind of doing both, and I just kind of came to a point where I realized I couldn't do both and be successful with both. I was trying to do two things and not giving 100%, and both businesses were suffering as a result. So I had to go with the one that I felt more aligned with and more pull toward. So I sold the business and then decided to go do coaching 100%.
Yeah, that's really cool because I've learned a lot about VO2 max, like specifically the three metrics that they say are associated with longevity and health span, which is VO2 max, resting heart rate, and heart rate variability. That's what a lot of people are saying now. I've looked into it too. It seems to be pretty interesting. So yeah, the VO2 max thing I actually did a video on it too. How I learned a lot about how it's like.
Did you ever do an actual test? Have you ever done a test?
I've never done an actual test. I've done the other test where you kind of do it yourself. Like,
which one is that one?
There's like the Cooper test or whatever. You basically just you can do a walk or a run and you time it, but it's not the same thing. There's never going to be as accurate as the the VO2 max test.
Usually the VO2 max, the ones that I did was hooked up to a medical grade cart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're wearing a mask. Your heart rate is connected. It's very high tech. Um, but yeah, I actually am interested in doing a VO2 max test
Yeah,
sometime in
me
the
too.
future. But it
Yeah.
requires running on a treadmill,
Yeah.
and I don't run. It's I just don't run. I
No,
don't run.
it doesn't require a treadmill. You could do it on a bike. You could do it on a
Yes, you're right.
stationary
You can
bike.
do it on a bike, but you have to
Yeah,
find a facility that actually has a bike.
that's
That's
correct.
the issue, and a lot of them don't. And I know that the facility that I sold, the business I sold, they only do it on a treadmill. So we'll see. It's in the horizon because I am interested in that because I think that your cardiovascular health is very important. It is definitely a very good predictor.
Oh, it's a predictor of longevity and health span.
Yeah.
And the higher your VO2 max,
Yes.
the lower your risk from all cause mortality, which is insane.
Yes.
And it's not a
Yes.
small increment. It's like drastic.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of data on it. I'm fascinated by it. I'm actually scheduling a couple of podcasts with people in that area of expertise. So I'm
Oh,
excited for
nice.
that. Just strictly about VO2 max and
Yeah.
all these things. It's
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah, I was one of those guys. I've always done cardio, but I did it just as a result of the other thing I was doing. So I've always been into martial arts, sports, different things like that. So I was doing a lot of cardio, and so my VO2 max is probably pretty decent. Like I've always been known to have like pretty good endurance and cardiovascular endurance. Like I kind of have a good. They call it like a good tank. High conditioning. Or
Well,
whatever.
you need to if you want to be successful in MMA.
I think it's a little genetic too. I think there is a
Oh,
genetic
really? Yeah.
factor to it too. I think some people just have a bigger gas tank, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, um, but I never really paid much attention to it. As a matter of fact, I used to make fun of like marathon runners and be like, oh, they all look flat, like skinny fat or whatever. And then I realized that when you combine it with resistance training, it's a game changer. And they feed on each other. Like
For sure.
and that's I changed my stance on it in my probably late 30s. I'm 41 now, and now I prioritize my cardiovascular health. So I start if I know, okay, I have an hour or 40 minutes, I will do cardio first, even though that's like they say,
Oh,
don't do
yeah.
it first.
Okay. Interesting.
It's not the best way, but if I know, okay, I only have a set amount of time, I have to prioritize. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to just do my skipping or whatever I'm doing for 20, 30 minutes, and then I'll hit the weights because I can do supersets. I can switch it up. Whereas if I do it the other way around, I know that I'll take longer. So
Ah.
this is just where I'm at right
Hey,
now in my
you
life.
know what? And I tell people you've got to do what works for you and what will help you be consistent. Because if it doesn't help you be consistent, it's not as doesn't matter how optimal the method is. And so yeah, I do it kind of like consider it a suboptimal way as well. So because that one, well, I don't do it before I lift. I do always prioritize strength training, but I usually like to do it right after I lift. And people say you should space it apart. They say ideally you should separate it by at least 4 hours because it will interfere with your strength gains. But for me personally, if I try to do it at a different time, it's not going to get done. So instead of thinking about what's optimal, you got to think about what's practical and what will help you be consistent to develop the habit. So that's what I do as well. I do it a suboptimal way according to some experts, but that's the only way I get it done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The data is clear. As far as hypertrophy, it does interfere. It's gonna reduce it. I'm using up my glycogen stores and stuff like that, and then my resistance workouts aren't as good. And I've measured. I'm a little bit weaker. I can't do as much volume. I get
Yeah.
it, but I'm still seeing results. I take pictures, measurements, and weight and stuff, and I know I've gained muscle and I have a pretty low body fat. So I know I'm just not optimized, but I
Yeah.
know in the grand scheme of things, it's healthier for me right now.
Yes.
But in the
Yes.
summer or spring in Toronto, it's always cold here, like 9 months out of the year, 8 months. So when the spring hits and the summer hits, then I can start going back for jogs and hill sprints, and I can separate the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at now. It's just a priority for me. I feel like I've neglected that aspect. Yeah, okay. So you're working primarily with females, typically, like you said, perimenopausal or menopausal. Um, do you Do you notice a difference when training a woman, for example, who is perimenopausal or menopausal versus, let's say, a woman who isn't? Do you notice a difference in how they adapt, how they build muscle, how they burn fat, etc.? Or do you like what's your take on it from your experience?
Well, I have not. I don't work with women like, let's say, in their 20s, but I
Okay.
can kind of maybe think about what a woman in their 20s versus someone who's in perimenopause. I do think it's more challenging simply because there's more life going on, more responsibilities, the stress of juggling a career, family, kids, multiple sports. There's just so much going on. So the stress of the life that they're living is harder. And also, as you age, a lot of these women have a longer dieting history. So they've, gone through multiple periods of extreme dieting. Their metabolism might be a little bit more suppressed. And also a lot of these women focus primarily mostly on cardio. They don't have a lot of muscle. So it just, all those kind of play into the role of just, it's a little bit harder. It's harder to build muscle, the longer you've been lifting. And so, not that you can't build muscle as you age, but it does get harder. It just simply does. I think when you're younger, this is why I try to encourage women who are younger, just capitalize on the fact that you have more energy, you're able to build muscle, just all those things, and focus on fat loss later. I'm not saying be unhealthy. I'm not saying carry an unhealthy amount of body fat and things like that. But don't be so obsessed with fat loss. Focus on building the muscle because that's so much harder to build. It takes longer to build. And that to me is like gold, precious gold, that you really need to take advantage of as soon as possible. Because the more years pass by that you don't prioritize it, the harder it is. Again, I want to emphasize it's not impossible to build muscle as you age. So I'm proof that you can build muscle as you age, and my clients are proof. I've seen it. It's possible. But it's just harder, just simply because you have a lot of things kind of working against you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. Muscle is critical during aging and preserving that. I'm a
Yes.
big proponent of it too. So, what do you think is the biggest mistake or myth that women fall victim to when it comes to starting out a resistance training program or at all? Like when you meet a client, for example, and they decide, okay, I'm gonna get into this. What do you think is the biggest myth or mistake they're making? And I'm talking about women plus 40.
Because, well, I would say those two different things because there are biggest myths and there are biggest mistakes. So
Okay,
I'll address the myth. The myth.
sure.
They think that resistance training is going to make them bulky, manly and bulky. I think that's one of the biggest fears. So they're afraid to lift heavy because they think it's going to make them bulky. But I really want to emphasize, you don't want to get hurt, right? We talked about this. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want to be unsafe, but you can't be afraid to lift heavy and push yourself because that is going to produce the look that you want. Because I know the look that these ladies want. They want that toned, firm look, and you're not going to do that if you're just going through the motions, using only 5 pounds, afraid to lift heavy. So I think the myth is that lifting heavy is going to make you bulky and manly. Um, so the biggest mistake that women make is they're focused too much on fat loss and not eating enough. Now understand that you need to fuel your body properly to build the muscle that you want. So that is one of many mistakes. That they're constantly chasing fat loss, focusing so much on fat loss that they're not able to build a muscle that their body needs to get the look that they want. So there's a lot of education that needs to go on in helping these women like make these shifts in mindset because that is the biggest obstacle, mindset.
Yeah, I totally agree. So when somebody, let's say most people or most women, in your niche, for example, I would imagine most of them agree, okay, yes, I need to start especially now. It's a new thing. Everybody wants to weightlift, and I think it's fantastic. But how do you get somebody to go from wanting to starting, but then more importantly, sticking to it? Because a lot of people are getting, the New Year's resolutions. You see how the gyms are packed and whatnot, but by March, it's back to the same old faces, maybe one or two new ones. How do you get them to take that next step and it become part of their routine and eventually their identity?
The first thing I have to do is make sure that we find an approach that's sustainable for them, because you have to be able to sustain something and make it, part of your lifestyle for you to be able to make it a habit for you to be consistent enough with it. So many women come to me saying, I want to lift 5 days a week. Like, these are women who have like multiple children, who have to chauffeur their kids around. They're busy career women, and I have to talk them down from that. And I always tell them, let's start with 3, because you're going from nothing to wanting to do 5. And that is an easy way to burn out, and then feeling like a failure because you're not able to be consistent. And then a lot of these women have an all or nothing mentality. Oh, I didn't go 5 days, I'm not going to do it at all. And then they don't do anything at all. So I help them establish 3 to 4 days. I tell women 3 to 4 days of lifting weights is the sweet spot. So a lot of these women actually start them at 3 days, and and help them build the habit of being consistent. And so just managing their expectations, kind of like helping them, find something that's sustainable, is super important, and helping them build the consistency. And then just habits like, okay, let's pencil in your schedule. Which days do you think you can realistically go to the gym, or even your home gym, and set aside some time to prioritize this? Like, I tell them, you need to schedule this like every other appointment that you schedule at work that you would never cancel, right? People would never cancel their work meetings. They would never cancel their kids' doctor's appointments. You have to treat your workouts as sacred time and prioritize them, because it's very easy to let those go and then not prioritize them. And I try to remind women that it is not selfish to prioritize your health, because you will be a better mom, you'll be a better wife, you'll be a better coworker if you prioritize your health. And you've heard the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. I truly believe that. So I'm not saying neglect your children, and things like that, but you need to prioritize that. And then also be okay with doing something instead of nothing at all. That is something I'm constantly preaching. Doing something is better than nothing at all. So a lot of times women will say, I knew that I couldn't fit in the whole workout, so I didn't go. Okay, so next time, be okay with just picking 3 out of the 5 exercises, and maybe just doing 2 sets. I mean, literally, you have to still get in the habit of going and prioritizing this, even if you're short on time. So just kind of helping them shift that mindset is important as well. I think a combination of all those things help them develop the habit. Just, something's better than nothing at all, and making it a sustainable routine.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think the best routine is the one you'll stick with.
Yes.
And it's better to start small and grow versus setting these huge expectations, and then and that applies to anything. I've done that in different areas of my life, not fitness. I think I've got that dialed in because I've been doing it my whole life. But in other areas, I've done that. Like, I'm going to do this whole thing. And it's like, just scale back a bit, like start
Yes.
small.
Yes.
One thing, I've talked about this before. And so there's 2 books I strongly recommend. You've probably heard of them. Atomic Habits.
Yes.
And Tiny Habits. Most people haven't heard of Tiny Habits.
I have not heard of Tiny
You
Habits.
should check it out. Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. He's actually a behavioral scientist, and he's one of the main guys that came up with a lot of the stuff you hear in the literature today, including Atomic Habits by James Clear. They've done a lot of tests in his lab in Stanford, a lot of different studies they've done about what works and what doesn't for habit creation and just behavior in general. And so the idea is, starting tiny is very effective. That's just one component, right? But for example, when my mom got started in a fitness regimen, she didn't want to do the weights thing. right? And so she started off with by doing Zumba, but even then it was like she was kind of not sticking to it. So I told her, like, start small, like just pack your bag or something, your gym stuff, and put it at the front of the door. And then in the morning, just put on your shoes and that's it. I know it sounds stupid, or like even just go down to your gym, walk in and walk out. And it's people are like, oh, that's stupid, but it's not, because you're just building the habit, the loop of doing. Because most of the time when you get there, you're gonna say, okay, well, I'm already here,
The
right? Even
hardest part is getting there.
100%, and people don't
Yes.
realize that. Like, pack your bag, then just packing your bag the night before, putting it in your car. Like, I still do that. I pack my stuff. It's just part of. I don't always do. I would say 90% of the time I have it ready, and that removes the friction. So
Yes.
there's a lot of friction between all the little things, and our brain will look for the excuse.
Yes.
So it's just something that for me, I noticed that has worked really well. And I noticed that when I told other people and they actually follow it, they're like, man, that actually made a huge difference. Like, just packing my smoothie, doing this and that, even
Yes.
planning my workout, even a very simple thing, it removes the friction of having to think about it, and that cognitive, resistance. So yeah, to your
Totally
point,
agree.
starting small, huge, huge. Like, people think they need to do less. You don't start by running a marathon. You start by walking
Exactly.
to the end of your driveway and coming back
Yes.
up.
Yes. Exactly. And then,
Yeah,
I make a compromise with them. I say, listen, uh, if you can be consistent with 3 days and you're feeling good and you can look at your schedule and realistic think, okay, I can add another day, then we can have a conversation. I'm open to that. But let's start with 3 days. And I find that most of them don't even bother moving up to 4 days or 5 days or whatever. Like, actually, I don't have any ladies that train 5 days a week. I firmly believe, especially in women who are in midlife, 3 to 4 days of strength training is the sweet spot because it is manageable, it's sustainable, it allows for rest and recovery, and which is extremely important no matter what. But I feel like as you age, it becomes even more important to pay attention to recovery, honoring rest days, allowing your body to just recover properly so you can push yourself the next time you're in the gym. So yeah, starting out small, baby steps. It's all about
hey,
baby steps.
eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that whole thing about the sweet spot, the data seems to align with what you're saying, in that, yes, if you go from 1 to 5, there's a jump as far as
Oh,
hypertrophy and bone density or whatever. But when you go from like 3 to 4, it's not that much of a difference. And 4 to 5, it's not that much of a difference. I think, like you said, 2 to 3 times, even 2 to 3, apparently the data shows an explosion in hypertrophy and all your other biomarkers. So for people out there who are like, I don't have 10 hours a week or 20, you don't have to. Like,
exactly.
you even 30 minutes 3 times a week, you can see huge benefits,
Yes,
like life-changing benefits.
yes,
And it opens up other areas of your life too. Just from a social aspect, like, you can connect with people who are kind of on the same page. Now all of a sudden when you're going out, they understand when you're like, no, I don't want to drink. They're like, yeah, me either. Like, you kind of support each other.
yeah,
There's a lot to say about your peer group, your environment. All those things will help you.
for sure.
Like, the people in my circle nowadays, they get it. They understand. I don't have to explain myself. But when I go and hang out in certain groups, it's a constant. I don't need to explain myself, but it's like, you get the little jokes like, oh, Mr. Fitness guy. This, like, hey man, I do this because I want to, not because I have to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the results speak for themselves, right? So they can only say so much because obviously it's working. Whatever lifestyle you're living, it's working. So, they can. I think that's hard for a lot of people who are just starting out. The peer pressure that they experience, it's hard for them to manage that. I'm at a point in my life where I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care what you think.
yeah,
I'm gonna just do what I want. Probably it comes with age, of course,
yes,
but just being confident in your lifestyle and confident in what you've achieved. That doesn't matter what people say or think because it's working. So, and they're probably in the back of their minds admiring you. Wishing they had the same type of discipline and habits because they want to feel better. So
Yeah, my
Yeah.
biggest pet peeve is that like, oh, you're lucky, the genetics. It's like,
Oh
dude,
gosh.
you have
Yeah.
no idea. Like this is a lifetime of
Right.
saying no to things and saying yes
Yes.
to the right things.
Right.
It's like it's not.
I
Sure,
fully
I
agree.
believe there may be an element of the luck of the draw with certain, you know, genetics or whatever, but for the most part, it's the small habits for years and years that get you there, right? Okay, cool. So when if somebody were to start out like you say in the 40s or the 50s, you've addressed the myths about muscle. That's another one I want to touch on. I know you talked about it, but it's funny to me when women are like, and that's like the biggest thing you hear. It's like, oh no, I don't want to be bulky. It's like, okay, first of all, men have about I think 10 times more testosterone than you. Our bones, everything in general, we're bigger and stronger, and yet men struggle to
Right.
pack
Yes.
on
Even
muscle.
men struggle.
Do
But
you
even
know
men
how
struggle.
difficult it is?
Yes.
Like I've been lifting for how long, and I put on maybe 2 pounds of lean muscle in a year. It's like it's so
Yes.
difficult, and I lift
Right.
heavy. I sleep, and
Yes.
even guys who take exogenous, like they take steroids, and even then, it's not easy. People think you just
Right.
take it and you just like no, 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 no. Those guys have to like kill themselves.
Yes.
It's very funny when
It is.
like a
It is. It's hard.
110 pound girl's
It's
like, I don't want to be like that guy on the stage. It's like it's like
yeah.
if only we're that easy, right?
I know that. Yeah. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to get bulky. I mean, it's just like you said. Women have a fraction of the testosterone that men do.
Yeah.
We just do not have the ability to build that kind of muscle. And people have no idea how hard it is to build muscle when you are doing everything right. And most of these women, they're not doing everything right, and they're still afraid that they're gonna get bulky overnight. It requires such hard work and intention every single day to build muscle. It doesn't happen by accident. So trust me, you're not gonna get bulky. And when women think that, I always have to remind them: if you feel like you're getting bulky, it's usually a fat issue, a nutrition issue. The fat that's still probably covering your muscles that make you feel a little bit bulky. Once you shed the fat, that's when you're going to reveal the muscle and the tone that you're looking for. So trying to educate women on that as well is been tough. It's hard, but I think the tides are shifting. Like, slowly but surely, it's happening. But still, a lot of education needs to be required.
Yeah. So just to pivot, I originally I found you. I think I had saw a video about your parents, and I love that stuff. It really hits home for me. Especially with my mom's journey right now, and I lost my father, and I wish he had done more, and he did his best. But when I see you with your parents, or I see your parents lifting, I'm like, this is really fucking awesome. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
So,
He's been a huge, huge blessing. It's
oh
been
man,
such a wonderful blessing, and I'm gonna be so grateful looking back that we had this time together. It's definitely brought us closer, and just helped our relationship. And I'm just so thankful that it happened.
yeah, it's admirable. It's admirable and really cool to see. So, how did that start? Have they always been active in general? And maybe I know in the Asian community, it's quite well. I don't know about Korean, but I know Chinese people walk a lot. In our communities, they're walking all the time, and I think it's a very Asian thing to walk. But as far as resistance training, it's not quite common from my understanding. So, how did you get them to kind of adopt the resistance side of things?
Yeah, you know what? I remember my dad when I was growing up. I remember my dad would have a routine. He would wake up in the morning, he would read his Bible, and I would see his dumbbells in the room. But they were like little tiny dumbbells, like 5 pounds. And he would do his own calisthenics. Nothing really like nothing to build muscle. I think it's just to kind of stay active. So I grew up watching him stay active. And my mom has always been active, not in an exercise way. She never formally exercised, but she loved to garden. She loved to be active in the yard. Like that was her form of being active. So that's how I saw them being active. Now, they lived in Pennsylvania and moved to Las Vegas. When was it? 2015. my dad actually, I don't want to digress. He was a workaholic. He did not want to retire. And my mom basically said, I'm not waiting for you. I'm going to go to Las Vegas to be with Juan. And so she actually came here first. And my dad was so stubborn. He wanted to work a few more years. So he stayed back in Pennsylvania. But then after he finally retired, he did join my mom. So they had an unconventional type of marriage. But it's worked. They're still together. Maybe that's why it worked, right? Because they spent so much time away from each other. But when they came to Las Vegas, they told me they joined Lifetime Fitness. Okay. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Lifetime Fitness.
I've heard of it. Yeah, we have a
yeah.
Lifetime. It's like high end.
Yes, very high end. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. I'm glad that because it was literally right across the street from them. And I didn't know that they weren't consistent. And the only reason my mom liked to go there was because she liked to use a sauna. So she wasn't even working out. So I don't know how the subject even came up because all this time I thought they were going to the gym. And they said, no, we're not. I'm like, what? I can't believe you're not lifting weights. This is so important. They said, well, we don't know what to do at the gym. And we had some free sessions and it's just not helpful. We just don't like going there. We feel lost. We don't know what to do. And then so I said, well, if I trained you guys, would you be willing to work out? And they said, yes. I said, okay, well, let's do that. So I got them a bench, dumbbells, and we just started simple, like just really started slow. Because at that point, they had stopped working out. And I noticed my dad's mobility declining, strength declining, range of motion significantly like limited. And so we just had to start from the bottom, start really slow. And, 2 days a week, 30, 45 minutes tops. And that's all they've been doing. And so, so it was initially just finding out by accident that they weren't lifting weights and then being willing to work out because they could have said no, right? So that the willingness to even work out was, to me, a huge part of the process. Because if they weren't willing to, I couldn't force them to. There's only so much I can do aside from just encouraging them. So the fact that they wanted to, how could I say no? I was so happy that they wanted to do that. So I'm like, let's do it. And I had no expectations whatsoever. I didn't know how long they would continue doing it. I didn't know if they were like, after a few months, if they would say, oh, we don't want to do this anymore. But they've been consistent with it, aside from like illnesses or medical procedures or maybe travel. They've been consistent with it twice a week. So I'm really proud of their commitment.
That's awesome. Have you seen any changes in their body composition, like more muscle? Obviously, I'm sure you've seen strength gains. Like, has your mom and dad built muscle?
My mom for sure. I've caught like video. I would like to record them, and I'll see her muscles popping. And I'm like, Mom, look at this, and I have to show her, and she's like, oh, that's muscle. Like she doesn't even know really what muscle like looks like in motion. I have to point it out to her. Yes, that's muscle. It's so cool. My dad's so modest. He always wears like shirts. I don't know if he's built muscle, but I've noticed that. But yeah. But I've noticed like him being stronger, range of motion has gotten better. Before when we used to do shoulder presses, he literally could not press more than like literally here. Like that's all. I was so like sad to see that. Like his shoulder mobility had gone down so much, but now he can actually press it all the way up, that's incredible. I mean, it's been so cool to see, just seeing that range of motion and the mobility improving. So it's been fun to watch.
Yeah. Even my mom, she walks a lot too, and she does her Zumba and she does her weights like 3 times a week. And just seeing certain things she's told me, like she's like, oh, I walked from the mall home with like 5 bags of groceries, whereas before just the walk was like unbearable. Now she's like, I'm walking and I noticed my hands weren't tired. I'm like, Mom, that's pretty damn good. Like that's like 40, 30 pounds, whatever.
Yeah.
So just those little things.
Absolutely.
And I can feel her strength. Like I mess around with her. I'll like grab her hand and she'll grab me. I'm like, damn, you get strong, relax.
Yeah.
And I see the gains. She's lost weight and I can see the triceps coming in.
Yes.
And before it was this whole thing of, I had to convince her, and now I have to convince her not to go when she's maybe like she got a cold not too long ago. And I was like, Mom, you're coughing. I think you need to take a few days. Just let your body focus on fighting. And she was like, no, I'm gonna go. I'm like, you're gonna make it worse. So she listened. Whereas
Oh, that's good.
before, I would have had to force her the other way. So
Right.
it's pretty cool. She's like
Yeah,
addicted to it now.
it
It's
is.
excellent.
Yeah. Once you start doing once you start doing it, you can't imagine not doing it. And that's where I would love for people to get to a point where initially it feels uncomfortable to build a habit, but then you want to get to a point where it becomes uncomfortable to not do it, right? So when you get to that point, you know that you built a habit out of it. So that's a great place to be.
Awesome. So what are some other habits that you have that support your health? You mentioned your sleep, prioritizing your sleep and bedtime, obviously your fitness regimen and cardio. Any other habits you'd like to talk about that you could share?
Uh, Water, staying well hydrated. I drink water first thing in the morning, right when I get up. No alcohol. Also, walking every single day outside. Before, there was a time where I could not even imagine the thought of even taking a walk seemed weird. And then even the thought of taking a walk outside seemed weird. It's interesting when you first start a habit, all these things kind of seem weird, but now it's such a habit. I walk in the morning, every morning outside with my dogs, every single day. Like that is a priority. So morning, and then I do mobility stretches. That's something that I've been more consistent with the last few months. I've been struggling with that for a long time because it's hard to find a routine that you can be consistent with. And I've shared with people, the routine that I do is literally 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I do it in the morning after I drink my water. I do a 5-minute mobility routine before I leave the bedroom. Because I know that if I don't do it then, it's not going to happen. Even though it's only 5 minutes, it's just weird. So I prioritize that. And people have said, it's only 5 minutes. I said, listen, it is, number one, it's better than nothing. And number two, I had to find something that I could stick with, just kind of like how I was trying to help, if you try to help clients develop a habit of lifting weights. For me, I had to find a routine that was bite-sized, that I could memorize, I could do it anywhere without equipment, and that required little space. So that was absolutely key in helping me develop the habit. So mobility, and then, quiet time. I spend some time in the morning reading the Bible. To me, it's been so impactful, and it quiets my mind and helps me kind of like focus on what's important, and it's reduced my anxiety. So I do that. Prioritizing protein at every meal, prioritizing fiber, making sure I have fruits and vegetables. I eat mostly whole food. I rarely eat out. I get takeout. I can't remember the last time I got takeout. We'll go out as a family, go to dinner, but it's not something I regularly go get takeout. So I prepare most of my meals from home. Of course, strength training, walking, cardio. I think that covers it all. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything. Yeah, that's probably it. I think I'm forgetting something, but I think I covered all the major ones, the big rocks.
Now, for women going through menopause, do you encourage them to take like hormone replacement therapy, like bioidentical hormones or anything like that?
Only if they're experiencing symptoms, and I feel like especially if lab work supports this. I don't blanket tell every woman that they need to do it, because not everyone needs it, and not everyone wants to do it, and not everyone is a candidate for it. I find that HRT is extremely individualized and personalized experience, and really needs to be catered toward that woman. Even with HRT, there's different dosage forms that don't work. So it's a hot topic. I feel like women need to do what they feel is best for their bodies, and I think we should support them either way, whether they do HRT or they don't do HRT. It's a woman's decision to decide what's best for them.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think the same thing with men. There's this new thing, TRT, like every guy thinks they need it once they hit 40.
Mm-hmm.
Like very small amount of population will need it. And even then it's like, have you optimized everything else? You
Right.
talk a lot of these guys, they don't, I have friends who are asking me about supplements and this and that, and I'm like, dude, you go like at least once a week where you go 24 hours without sleep. First of all, you need to like dial in your sleep,
Yes.
train consistently, stop eating junk, figure out your stress situation, and once you've been doing that for a few months, talk to me. You don't need to supplement anything. You're not even
Yes, 100%. Yeah. A lot of these issues that I'm not saying everything, but many of the things that people in general, not just women only, feel not feeling their best. It comes down to lifestyle habits, and if they would just improve those things, they would probably feel so much better, and they'll realize that it wasn't that they needed whatever it is that they're substituting it with. Sleep, whole foods, walking, reducing alcohol have a significant impact on just overall everything.
Yeah, I think sleep is one of the biggest ones. It definitely was for me. I've
I agree.
made a huge improvement, but I
Yes.
think a lot of it has to do with smartphones and social media, and of course, we're conditioned, in especially in North America, like when the Friday comes, it's all what they call it weekend jet lag. It's a real thing. It's literally like people go from maybe their bedtime's like 10, 11 or whatever, and then on the weekend they're going to bed at 2, 3. It's literally like a form of jet lag, and so trying to keep your bedtimes consistent, those things for me, even on the weekend, was a big paradigm shift. Realizing like,
I agree. I try to have a consistent bedtime every day, 7 days a week. Now,
yeah,
granted, some things might come up out of your control, but for the most part, I like to have a consistent bedtime routine, consistent wake up routine, even on the weekends. I think that's important.
yeah, the tough part is the social aspects, because most people will, if you have like a party or a family gathering or whatever, especially if you're hosting, you know to be like, you guys got to get out at 7, I go to bed at 9.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a tough one, right? So I make exceptions, but sometimes it's a little frustrating, 'cause some people,
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know, some people want to drink into like the 2 a.m. It's like, no,
Oh my gosh.
it's not my life.
No, not me either. So
So is there anything else that we missed?
I mean,
Did
I
we
don't
not
think
talk
so.
about anything else specifically concerning health? I know you used to compete too, right? Is that right? Did you
I
compete in
did.
a physique? Can we touch on that real quick?
Yeah. I competed in bikini.
That's awesome.
I have a small frame, so I couldn't even compete in physique, even if I wanted to. Those girls have a lot of muscle. Yeah, so I competed in bikini. I did a total of 5 shows, and it was, I don't regret it. I do wish I had done things differently. I think if I had done things differently, I would have been healthier overall, and I maybe would have had more longevity in the sport. But I still was not very healthy in my habits of, not prioritizing sleep. That was the biggest one.
Mm.
And also, when you compete, there's, a lot of body dysmorphia that comes from that.
Yeah.
And, seeing yourself get lean, it's hard to see yourself gain back the weight, even if it's healthy weight, the kind of weight that you need to gain to be healthy, not even just be overweight, just to regain your health. I had lost my menstrual cycle. I had gotten to very low levels of leanness, and I tried to sustain that in the quote unquote off season, or the time between where competitors don't compete. They're supposed to gain weight and things like that, and I didn't, and that really I suffered because of that, and I was not able to build muscle. I looked the same every year or every show, and that's that's not what you want to do as a bodybuilder. As a bodybuilder, you want to show that you're improving with each show, and looking at pictures. I remember the head judge. I had been communicating with the head judge, and she even took snapshots of pictures of me over the shows. She said, "There's no change. There's no change at all." And she was speaking the truth, but not only because she's a head judge, she knows what she's looking for. But I could clearly see there's no change. So I knew at that point, like if I wanted to come back, if I wanted to stay in the sport, I need to take significant time away from the sport to be able to build muscle and heal my body. And during that time, I just realized, you know what, I'm done. I'm done going to extremes. I'm done pushing my body. I just want to be healthy again. I just want to live a life, feeling my best. I don't want to go to extreme levels. It's just hard on the mind and the body as well. So yeah, I just in 2019, that was the last time I competed, and I haven't looked back. I have no desire to step back on stage. I don't, like I said, I learned so much from that experience. I just wish I had done things differently.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite common in the sport with the whole body dysmorphia, or even like, eating or disordered eating. Typically in the fitness world, it's more common than people think. Even for men, a lot of people
Oh
equate
yeah,
it to women having like body dysmorphia. It's like men might have it worse in
men
that
have,
there's
yes.
because men feel like they have to have this like impossible build that even guys on steroids can't get, and they try to look like superheroes because that's how we're depicted in all the movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, and those actors are all on enormous amounts of steroids and stuff to get to that physique in like 3 months. People don't realize that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so hard in the
It's
body.
unhealthy. It's where healthy becomes unhealthy. It's kind of like the
Yes. Yeah.
opposite extreme.
It is not the pinnacle of health. And what people need to understand that, that look is really for one day. It's that day that you step on stage. And it's not meant to be sustained all year round. It's not meant to be idolized and glamorized. And I think there's a huge misconception that people think that, oh, they should be shredded all year round, when in reality you should not be. It's really, it's people think, oh, they're so fit, but it's really, you feel the worst. Ask any competitor who's stepped on stage. You feel the worst when you compete because you're just low energy, poor sleep, extreme food focus. This is the worst. Like just eating a meal and then not feeling satisfied and just being hungry 24/7 is it, that's a it's a tough feeling to deal with. It took me probably a year, I would think, looking back, a year for my hunger hormones to feel balanced again. Whereas like I would eat a meal and I would be satisfied and not think about wanting to eat another meal for 3 hours. Where before it was, even after months of competing, I would eat a meal and still be looking for food. This is like your hunger hormones are so out of whack. So that was hard. That and just the body dysmorphia is tough mentally.
All right. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything. I guess is there a message you want to leave for people that are maybe on the fence, or with respect to your journey and your experience and training with your parents, and from the
I
perspective
think the
of
message
like,
I always want to convey is it's just never too late. It is never too late to become a best version of yourself. So wherever you are, just start. And it is the best investment in your future self. Like you've got to prioritize your health, not only for yourself, but for your children. You want to leave a positive legacy behind. I think that's one of the best gifts that you can give your children is the gift of your own health. So never too late, and just prioritize your health.
absolutely, I love that. So Juan, where can people find you?
I am the most active on Instagram, Won the Wellness. I plan on coming out with the app pretty soon. So once that becomes available, I'll make sure to share that. But right now, basically, you can find me on Instagram. That is where I am the most active.
So it's WOND, like dad, wellness.
That's correct.
I'll have all the links in the descriptions and stuff. But yeah, everybody check her out. She's got some cool videos, especially big shout out to your parents. Tell them I said hello.
I will. Thank you.
I look forward to those videos. You should. It seems to be very popular. People love that kind of stuff,
They
right?
love they love my parents. Yeah, they can't get enough of them. So I try to make sure that I sprinkle it in there regularly because it's been a huge part of the growth of my account as well. It's just drawn in a lot of people. People in general love to see people who are older chasing health and chasing strength because we don't see enough of it, and it's just so heartwarming. Even when I see other videos of people in their 70s and 80s working out, it's like, oh, you love seeing videos like that. So I try to make sure to make that a regular part of my content.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you should check out the episode I did with a gentleman named Frank Gilfeather. He's a boxing coach out of Scotland. He's got a huge following too, and he's like in his 70s, and he's incredible. He's still skipping, and when you see him hit the punching bag, if you don't, obviously he looks a little old. He's an older man, but if you see him from like the side or he's got a hoodie on, it looks like a 20-year-old.
I'm gonna have to check out his account. I wrote it down, so I'll check it out.
Frank Gilfeather. If you go to mine and just look up on my followers, or you can look up my reels, you'll see him there. He's
Okay.
incredible, and he's
I love
a
that.
big proponent of like telling kids from young, make this a lifelong habit. This isn't just about when you fight; it's about health, and he's very big on health. And yeah, he's an incredible dude. You remind me of him in that same spirit. You guys, I love it. Yeah, and I'm trying to convince my mom to come on this podcast with me and talk, because I think she can offer a lot of wisdom.
Oh, that'd be great. You should, if she'd do that, I think from her perspective.
She's still reluctant, but I'll get her. I'll get her eventually.
Yeah, I think people would love that. And I love to hear their side of the story from their own mouth, the thoughts and things like that. I think it would really resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah. This show's about health span and longevity, and my mom losing my father, her husband, they were together since kids. So that, and then still being able to go and using fitness and these different routines to help her cope, and literally see her transform, and the strength she has emotionally. I think that will resonate with a lot of people.
Yes.
Because it's not just, motivation, just, everything's perfect, and it's easy to be motivated when everything's perfect, right?
Right.
When there's some challenges. So yeah, maybe one day, coming soon.
That'd be nice.
So Juan, it was a great chat. I hope we could do it again, and I really appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck with your parents too. I
Thank you.
Keep killing it. Your dad
Thank you. I
inspires
appreciate
me.
it. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Juan.
All right. Thanks so much for watching today's episode of Youthful Aging Secrets. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and get these tips out to the right people. Also remember, you can get even more evidence-based tips and tools every single week in my free newsletter, Live Better Longer. Each issue answers one key health question with the latest research, plus my favorite finds and a chance for you to submit your question to future guests. You can join free at youthfulagingsecrets.com/subscribe. I'll see you next time, and until then, I wish you good health.